All right, well, Samantha Searls, thank you so much for sitting down to talk with me and share with our group. As I explained previously, our group has gone through a couple of meetings learning about the immigration system, learning about where things stand legislatively on the local, state, and national levels, and also heard a story from someone talking about their specific interaction and life as it has been affected by ICE. And so now we're moving into this action, right? We've learned, we've been informed a little bit, and we need to do something. We need to get our faith communities involved, and that's kind of the crux of this conversation series. So what we're looking for is just for you to talk a little bit about what are some ways that individuals and or faith communities can get involved? What have you seen happening? And where are some places maybe we can start thinking about we can mobilize our people, mobilize folks through Equation, through Mark, whatever that might be to get involved. So I'll turn it over
Yeah,
to you to share. So thank you.
cool. Hey everyone, you probably know me or you probably get emails from me, so I'm sorry about that. I'm Samantha Searls. I'm a program director at Ignite Peace, formerly IJPC, the Inter-Community Justice and Peace Center. Immigration justice is one of our focus areas because we believe it is one of the biggest examples of systemic violence that we have in our country and in our government. And that can all be illustrated by the things that have happened over the past few days with ICE. And so the main focus of our work at Ignite Peace is systemic change. But in order for me to figure out what campaigns to run, what actions to run, how to use our resources, I need to be in deep relationship with those who are directly affected and working on this issue every day. And so I have had the honor of coordinating the Immigrant Dignity Coalition for the past 9.5 years, I think. And the coalition has taken lots of different iterations over the years, but recently we've really been focused on rapid response to all of the changing policies and the changing tactics of ICE. So that's basically what I'm going to focus on, and then I might end with some things that Ignite Peace is doing separate from the coalition. But the Immigrant Dignity Coalition's mission is to inform, connect, and mobilize. So we inform each other about what's going on, we connect to solve problems, and we mobilize our networks into action. And that's where you all come in, because it's important that this not be an initiative that just sits with one or two people in the community, but everyone in the community is doing a little piece of the work, a piece of the pie, because there's a lot going on right now. So the coalition has been doing lots of different things related to rapid response that anyone is welcome to plug into and get involved with. We have a volunteer form that is on Ignite Peace's website. I'll make sure Andrew has it, and you might already have it, which is kind of just like a database of skills. We don't really know what we need until we need it. So, step one, if this is an issue that touches your heart personally, I would fill out that volunteer form, especially if you have skills in like a specific profession, whether that be medical, whether you're a notary or you have legal expertise, or you speak, an indigenous language or Spanish or French. Like all that information is helpful to us organizers in this moment because, like I said, we don't know what we need until we need it. So, for example, I used that database a few different times. One was looking for someone who spoke Portuguese. Another one, I used it to find emergency shelter, which Andrew was involved with that situation. And I've also used it to find folks who are bilingual to help with this new citywide hotline that we have, which I'll tell you about. So please fill that out. And if you do, you get access to a mini website that outlines all the things I'm about to tell you and gives you all the details on how to plug in. In this moment, it is crucial that you reflect on your time, talents, and capacity and decide how is best for you as an individual and how is best for your community to plug into all of this. Because um, a few years ago, I had all the time in the world and was able to like meet with people one on one and figure out where they wanted to plug in. But we are like basically in emergency mode right now. And so this website is meant to be a space for you to explore and discern which piece of the pie you want to be a part of. So there are direct volunteer opportunities with the immigrant community itself, like teaching English classes. But there's also more direct things like you can watch a module and then be able to give Know Your Rights presentations. And so if you speak a specific language or you have a relationship with a specific community, like that could be a really great use of your time. So the categories on the mini website that you get after you fill out the volunteer form are actions and events, which is a list of actions and events that are happening around the community and nationally. So there are webinars, there's strategy calls, there are fundraisers, you name it, it is probably on that list. And if you have an item that you want advertised on that list, just let me know. The second one is build community. That is something that is really important right now because our government is sending the message that immigrants are not welcome. And most of our faith traditions call for, um, welcoming the stranger. And so building community can be putting a yard sign out that says that you support the immigrant community. Building community could be hosting a meal. Building community could be going to a cultural festival and building relationships and just showing that you support them. So that page on the action board has some events that you can go to build community. Next is learning and training. So you can, all of this, it's important for allies specifically to educate ourselves on what is happening and how you can help. And so there are local training opportunities listed on there, like Ignite Peace is listed on there. We do a Intro to Immigration and Immigration 101 presentation. And we've also been doing speaking engagements about policies at the State House and other ways to take action. But there's also national online training opportunities. There's trainings on safety and security, how to keep yourself safe while being an activist. And then there's just so many things to continuously teach yourself and learn in this space. There is a donate and fundraise page. We at the coalition and our partners have created a transportation team that has been taking donations to directly affected families and has been taking people to appointments. So that right there is a very clear way to volunteer. You can sign up to be a driver, and you could be on call or work a schedule. And as the team receives requests, you can go pick up the items and deliver them to their home. Or if you're able to drive them to a government appointment, that would be great. As most of you know, undocumented immigrants in Ohio do not have access to driver's licenses. And driving without a license is like the number one way people are being detained by ICE nowadays, especially with all the collaborations with local law enforcement. But then also the transportation team needs donations to give out. And I know faith communities are really good at that to do a gift card fundraiser, to gather diapers or other big essentials like bulk rice and beans for the transportation team to give out. And so that is a big need. Also, the folks who are being taken by ICE are often breadwinners for their families, and those left behind are now stuck trying to figure out how to pay rent and how to pay bills. And there are a lot of nonprofits that are a part of the Immigrant Dignity Coalition that need financial support right now, especially if they had government money and they don't anymore. So I might get in trouble because I won't name everybody, But for example, Heartfelt Tidbits, Sukasa, Transformation, CDC, and the Willows Project have really been coordinating together on trying to find financial aid, like for these emergency assistance situations for people whose loved ones have been taken. So there's all that information on this little action board. Um, the next page is called Recurring Volunteer Opportunities. And when you look at the website, they might not be in the order that I'm going over right now, but they're all on there, I promise. Recurring volunteer opportunities means teams and initiatives that you can get plugged into on a more longer term basis or on a regular basis. And that is really important because this is not an issue that we can solve by serving a meal and then everybody is fine. This is an issue that is systemic, that is not going to end anytime soon. And so, if this is something that you really care about, picking something to do and sticking with it is going to be really impactful, especially because it allows you to build relationships with the community and really, really, kind of shift systems of relationship and power to help this issue. So there's a volunteer guide that is linked on there with most of the nonprofits that are connected to the coalition and how you can get involved with them. There's also information on how to form a safety team in your neighborhood. That has been the biggest shift of what the coalition has been doing in the past year is when ICE is cited in Cincinnati, we need an infrastructure of people who can drop everything and go check it out to see if the sighting is valid or not, or to see if anyone has been taken and if their family left behind need anything, or just to witness it, or if you want to get risky, try to prevent a family from being taken. So I'm happy to say we have over 20 neighborhoods that have safety teams. And the list of the neighborhoods that have a team are on the action board. Some of them have additional security hoops you need to jump through, and that's just to make sure we're all safe. And, right now, there are stories of activists being targeted and surveilled and infiltrated. And so it's just a way to keep us safe together and build relationships. So if you want to join your neighborhood safety team, some of the safety teams have patrols, walking school buses where they walk kids who walk to and from school, they walk them home. Some of them have a hotline structure. So if someone sees ICE, they call a hotline and someone goes out and is dispatched to verify the activity. Some of them are building relationships with schools and apartment complexes with a lot of vulnerable people. So if anything happens there, they can mobilize and help out. That is like a huge way you can plug in right now. ICE is not doing neighborhood raids as much as they were when Minneapolis was in the news, but it's having that network is so important. Even like thinking forward to the election, if there's any election intimidation by ICE agents, those networks could come in handy. So it's even if you aren't going to be active like every day with your neighborhood team, it's a good to be trained and get plugged into them so you know what's happening, not only in the neighborhood that you live in, but the neighborhood that you work in. So there's recurring opportunities. I'm almost done. There's also on-call volunteer opportunities, which is just like an as-needed basis. That also works for people. That I would say the transportation team is under that umbrella. Giving Know Your Rights presentations under that umbrella. We also have materials on how to run power of attorney workshops, which is helping families name an adult to take care of their children if they themselves are detained. And so you can do it with a notary and some interpreters and fill out some paperwork to make sure the family has a plan if something were to happen. There's also a canvassing team that previously has gone out to local businesses to let them know what their rights are as places of private property. And They haven't been active as a while, but they are that network is really helpful in getting information out and getting whistle kits out and getting signs out and just letting businesses know that they don't have to let ICE in the private areas of their business. You can also join the safety and security team. They're kind of on a pause right now, but they have previously provided nonviolent marshals to events where vulnerable people are present and to protests. And there's just so many things to plug into. So, and then the last two sections on here is advocate. We're building out this section, but if there's a call to action to call your legislator or to submit a public comment against a regulation, it'll be under advocate. Or if there's a rally coming up, that's where you can find that information. In fact, on Tuesday, I don't know if this is on the action board, but this coming Tuesday marks a year of Butler County for Immigrant Justice. They have been going to every Butler County commissioner meeting for a year, trying to convince them to cancel their contract with ICE, their jail's contract with ICE. And so they're going to have a big day of action this coming Tuesday, starting at 9 a.m. It's going to start with the vigil. Then they're going to go to the commissioners' meeting. Then they'll have a demonstration after the meeting, and then a processional to the jail. So that's where you go to find information on events like that. And last but not least, there's a section called Lead, which is, honestly, I'll hear of an issue from our network and I'll put it on there to see if anybody has expertise in the issue or wants to call a meeting or wants to organize around something. I'll put it under Lead. So for example, we're trying to figure out, I think some of our partners are getting there. We're trying to figure out some kind of a citywide fund that families can access if their loved ones take in for that emergency assistance, because right now it's just piecemeal. So like that is an area where we need people to figure out how to do that, how to fundraise. There's also efforts in Kentucky that I think should be mimicked in Ohio to do outreach to people who are detained, to screen them to see if they have any legal remedies available to them. And also, like, I've also used that section to call meetings about specific legislation that's moving. So those are the main categories. There's also Know Your Rights information on there. There's also some resources on there. If somebody asks you for help and you're looking for something specific, you could try to find it on there. And then there's a section at the top that is like urgent needs and urgent asks. So that's a lot. The last thing I'll say is Ignite Peace, I mentioned, is focused on systemic change. And we have been doing nonviolence trainings and specifically teaching people about the concept of non-cooperation. So these neighborhood safety teams are a form of non-cooperation. What this means is we're not going to put up with what they're doing to people. We are not going to cooperate. We're not going to let them go down easy. And we're going to do our best to slow down what they're doing, to stop what they're doing, and to reverse what they're doing. And so if you're interested in a nonviolence training or a non-cooperation training, let me know. But we have been training people on how to run those types of campaigns and actions to slow things down. But we at Ignite Peace want to lead some of those actions and campaigns because, like I said, our energy is everywhere right now and we want to help focus it. And so stay tuned for an event, probably early August, where we're going to do some issue cutting and campaign cutting on collaborations with ICE when it comes to local law enforcement. So there are some systemic issues at play that we could collectively stop. And then, of course, there are horrible pieces of legislation in the State House that could make everything worse that we're keeping an eye on. So please fill out the volunteer form, figure out what is best for you, and we welcome you as part of this movement because we need everyone.
Thank you, Samantha. I appreciate all this, and I just in listening to a kind of big picture and how there's opportunities to form and inform your people in your faith community, and then ways to get involved directly in your neighborhood to support the people who are there, and the ways to advocate, whether you're in whatever county you're in, or you're doing it on a state level, you can do that together. There's just a wealth of different possibilities that the faith communities can do. And as you said, both individuals and faith communities can get involved in these efforts. And that there's this, thanks to this great network that's been built, there's this kind of one stop shop of this mini website where people can go and share needs, but also find ways to get connected. And so I think this is it's a great resource, and I appreciate you walking through that for everybody, so they can have a good grasp of not only what's there, but how it works, and how it's going to continue to be a resource. And there are folks, maybe you mentioned this, but there's folks that are every day tasked with updating the website. They're going to keep looking at it and keeping track of it, so that as new needs emerge, as things change, those things will be reflected in the website. So it's not going to be something that's stagnant. It'll be evergreen and always evolving to meet the changes. Like you said, we're in a place of emergency, and that emergency keeps changing. And so we have to be ready for it.
I think you just reminded me, I meant to say this at the beginning. We are taking things as it comes, and like addressing things as it comes. And my coworker Becky has a phrase, we're building the plane as we're flying it. So the website's not perfect. There could be missing information. It could be out of, it's not out of date, because like Andrew said, there are people that are updating it regularly. So approaching it with grace and understanding of the people who put it together would be really helpful, because we're doing our best. And like I said, we all have a role to play, whether it's small or big. And I think faith communities have a lot of power in this moment. They have, you all have a moral voice to speak out through media, through written letters to the editor, through public prayer vigils, to let the community know, the immigrant community know, that we have their back, and that what is happening is not okay. So please, please reflect on how you can use that power as part of this.
Right. That's a great way to end this. So, Samantha, again, thank you so much for the time. And I mentioned this before to the group, but I also want to say thank you again for working with me before this whole series started to think about what this is going to look like and how we can structure this. So you've been a good partner in this from the beginning. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. And we'll certainly continue to pray for you. And hopefully this is a good way for us to guide us into our action.
Sounds good. Thanks.